Man, hey, I'm Dominic, and I love the movie I just watched.
Hey, I'm Connor, and I thought it was pretty dumb.
It was Batman Begins 2005, the first in Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, the only one that people actually like.
Yeah, it's definitely. I heard a lot about this movie before I watched it, so I had a lot of expectations going in. I don't think that's what ruined it, though, for me.
I had pretty low expectations because, as a person who likes superhero movies, I've come to expect next to nothing out of DC, and this is a DC movie if you're not familiar with comics. But I had heard good things about it from a lot of people, including family. So I guess I had higher than average expectations for a DC movie, but that equates to just below like regular movie expectations.
I guess it's kind of bad that I had high expectations for this because I'm not a superhero movie guy. I've never been. I've seen like 3 superhero movies, and they're all right. I really liked Iron Man. Guardians of the Galaxy is amazing, but I don't. That's not really a superhero movie, you know. It's more like a action comedy, you know.
I like
But
superhero movies, but I hated Iron Man. I thought it was stupid.
Iron Man was great.
Iron Man is my least favorite
It's
superhero.
good.
He's my least favorite superhero.
I mean,
But
yeah, sure.
but that is not the movie we came today. This came out in 2005, like I said. I want to say it came out in October,
Sure.
June.
Jin.
It opened in June 2005 in the USA and Canada. It made 48 million in its opening weekend and 374 million worldwide. So, needless to say, people liked it.
It's regarded as one of the best superhero movies of the 2000s, which that's a pretty low bar to set, I think.
Now, one thing we really disagreed on, so I think I'm going to get it out of the way, was the acting. I thought that the acting was pretty decent with a few people who were on the weaker side, but I never felt like anyone deserved to be thrown tomatoes at. But apparently people didn't think the same because the person who plays Rachel, her name was Katie, got nominated for a Razzie.
Yeah, which I think is hilarious because I mean, I didn't really like most of the acting in the movie. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was functional, which is a lot of the reasons why I don't like these action superhero movies. A lot of the aspects of them are functional. They work, they exist, but they're not good. They don't go out of their way to make them entertaining. Well, some of this movie was entertaining, but just entertaining. It was functionally entertaining. It's there. It works. It's part of a movie. You can understand it. It's visible, but that's it. They don't spice it up at all. They don't put any creativity in it. It's just it.
I completely disagree with that. I think it was very creative because I'm a fan of the comics. I've read them. I know about Scarecrow. And one thing that they did that was really creative that I'm not even sure my friend picked up on was Zaz was in the movie, and he was cameoed a couple times as a psychotic killer. But in reality, he's one of Batman's foes that reoccurs throughout the comics.
Of course, I wouldn't know who that is. That's nothing. That means literally nothing to me.
Uh,
Scarecrow means nothing to me. Ra's al Ghul I've heard before, but it means nothing to me. It's just like a dude. He's just a Batman dude, you know?
they had Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul, and those were the two main bad guys, along with the Al Capone ripoff, who played a minor role. I can't remember his name, but I think it is Al
It was
Capone.
like his name was like El Foke. I don't even know. It was some dumb name.
I don't
They
remember.
say it like 5 times in the movie. It's not
It's
even.
pretty irrelevant, but he as a character is not. He's a lot of the gateway and bridges between what happens throughout the movie.
He's definitely like the main antagonist of the midpoint of it.
Definitely. And they do a really cool twist with Raj Al Ghul, which I'm not going to get into, but I promise it's cool.
Yeah, from what I understand, from what Dominic told me, it's just a part of Batman. Like it's completely follows in line. It's not something the movie made up.
This was really faithful to the new age of comics, in which they've gotten a lot darker and they've left behind the plots of family friendly.
Honestly, wasn't this the movie that started that? I
No.
thought it was.
Actually, historically speaking, there's
Well, I
been
just mean movies. I don't care about comic books. I just mean, wasn't this the movie that started like all the gritty like superheroes, you know,
yeah,
like Man of Steel and stuff
this
like
was
that?
the first successful one,
Mm.
but we can't.
Well, probably the only successful one.
Yeah,
Well, the trilogy. The whole trilogy does really well. I know that. I know it's a famous trilogy.
Yeah, because it does a lot of cool things with villains that people recognize and people don't recognize. Like, everyone knows the Joker, almost everyone knows Bane, most people know Ra's al Ghul, but actually Christopher Nolan in an interview stated he used people like Zsasz and Scarecrow to appeal to the fans and yet introduce a villain that he could mold, because everyone knows the Joker and has predisposed expectations. Most people don't know the Scarecrow. And based on the name, you could be like, he's probably spooky. And that's all you know.
I mean, this movie is about fear. That's like the thing of the movie. It's the theme.
I really enjoyed it. I think that it fit perfectly with the dark and gritty side.
I appreciate the consistency with how they worked that until the end. Because at the end, the focus is more on specifically corruption. In the beginning, it's like corrupt people who use fear to their advantage. At the end, it's just all corruption's bad in general. It just kind of loses the whole fear part, I think.
Now, I've avoided this movie so that I could watch it for this podcast. There's a second and third one, and from what I understand, this is very similar to the Star Wars trilogy. People like this movie. It was a hit, but the next movie is really where it's at. To put it in a term that I despise, it's been compared to the Empire Strike Backs of Batman movies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of willing to watch. Okay, let me give you a rundown of what I really felt about this movie, like, in general terms. The first 45 minutes is dull. It's half corny training montage, half flashback. And it's just plot dump. It's not interesting. And then it gets to the part where Batman is actually a character. That's hilarious. It's super corny. It's really action heavy. It's what I associate with Batman, like, personally. I know that's closer to, like, the original, but I enjoyed that part. Was definitely entertaining. I was entertained by the part where Batman was, like, started, you know? But then the end gets all boring again, and it's just like, Batman beats guys up.
I really enjoyed the movie. I'll tell you my little interpretation. First 45 minutes, really good establishing shots, setting up the whole idea that Batman is, underneath that, just a man who will have his butt kicked from time to time, and who will struggle. And it actually shows him as a child, as Bruce Wayne, child, teenager, and adult, through flashbacks, but they're never super corny flashbacks. And then eventually he goes back into the city and he starts dealing with Al Capone and a little bit of Scarecrow. And
you don't know he's Scarecrow yet, to be fair.
No, you know that it's Scarecrow.
Not at the beginning.
If you know the name of him and you know the comics, like...
Okay, but to a random moviegoer, it's just a dude.
Yeah, it's a dude. And he deals with fear because every villain in this deals with fear differently. And I think that's why I liked it so much, because Al Capone uses fear in a way of intimidation and having people work for him and favors and judges on his payroll. How Ra's al Ghul does it is that he uses it to destroy societies through the shadows. And how Scarecrow does it is somewhere in between. It's up in your face, but it's never because Scarecrow is scary. It's because of the whole idea of shadows and mind manipulation.
Yeah, I don't see that, but yeah.
And then it ends with a really good conclusion, and there was never a loose end in the movie, except for the very end where they open it up for the sequel with Heath Ledger as the Joker. Characterization, I really liked, because I feel like they made Bruce Wayne an actual person.
He's the only character who gets any characterization.
I disagree. I think Lucian got characterization. Even Alfred.
Didn't. No, Lucian didn't. He just made devices and lost his job, then got it back. That's his character. That's it.
Alfred got some character about how he truly cares about the Wayne family.
Alfred was solid. You can't complain about Alfred.
Rachel Dawes got some character, establishing her as DA and non-corruptible, but certainly afraid character.
Gross.
Ra's al Ghul, if he comes back, because I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen the other two. If he comes back, there's definitely a lot of potential for him, and it gets into the Lazarus Pit and the League of Shadows organization.
Liam Neeson was definitely the shining star of this movie. By far the most entertaining actor in the entire thing.
I liked Christian Bale's performance as Batman.
Okay, when he was Batman, he just hammed it up so much that it was fun, but when he isn't, he's just like, whatever. The thing about superhero movies that I know they're stereotyped a lot in this way, but I always think of them as they're meant to be these perfect people, these Mary Sues, Gary Stews, whatever you want to say. And you're supposed to, like, sort of vicariously live through them, with some of them. But a lot of them, they have to be human for them to be relatable. They have to have facets to them that you have to see yourself also having. Like, oh man, these people are awesome, but I could kind of be them, because they have these problems. But the problem I have with this movie is that Bruce Wayne's major problems are he has to attempt to be a rich person. Like, what? That's not something anyone can relate to. That's not even like a theme of the movie. There are a couple scenes where he just acts like a rich person because he has to. Because Alfred tells him to. It's silly.
I saw it as something different. I saw him as needing to conform to the society that's around him in order to survive.
But he doesn't. He's so rich.
But he has to conform to that society that's around him.
I don't think he has to at all. I don't think that's even a necessity. He has so much money and power by the end of the movie that it's just like... Cinematography's totally fine. It's probably the best part of the movie besides, like, Liam Neeson.
The cinematography was fantastic. It had a lot of dark and muted shots to correspond with the theme, but it also had nice shots of the mansion and of the mountains.
I would say for 2005, it was not breathtaking. I have seen better things that were made like 10 years before that, but it was alright.
It actually was nominated. Did it receive?
It was nominated for, I believe,
Best
an
Cinematography.
Academy Award for Best Cinematography. Might not be an Academy Award.
Did it win?
It did not. I don't think it won. It just got a nomination, which I think it would deserve that. I don't know what else came out that year, but good cinematography. Definitely worth checking out, I guess.
There was one part where Batman was on fire that looked really cool, and all the parts where he glided through the city looked fantastic.
This looks silly.
No, they look good.
Because, like, one of the problems I have with, like, the last act of the movie is that the villain's major weapon is mist. I understand that that's not actually what it is, and that it is, like, it's dangerous. It's definitely, like, a big threat, but, like, it's just mist. They just put, like, fog machines around to get the effect. It's just...
It's fear toxin.
But to get that effect in cinematography, you just need fog machines. It's dull.
Cheap solutions to big problems are definitely interesting.
But entertaining solutions to big problems are what I look for in movies.
I look for realistic ones, and that's why I enjoyed the film so much.
It's Batman. It's not realistic. See, I found myself comparing this to other action movies that I watched, like Kill Bill, Leon the Professional, and the thing that I prefer those movies over, I love both of those. I love Tarantino, and I love whoever it is, Leon the Professional. But the thing about those movies is that they're human. They are legit, straight up human. They have no gadgets. Flippin' Kill Bill is just a katana. Leon the Professional is just guns and explosives. They're just humans doing, like, a little bit extreme human things. In Batman has all these crazy gadgets, and it's wacky, and he's really powerful because he's rich, and he has Morgan Freeman working for him, and it's just silly. There's no reason for me to believe that we could do this in real life. There's no immersion at all. And I understand that's not necessary for a comic book based movie because they're not meant to be immersive. Well, they're not meant to be realistic.
Yeah, I personally think it's unfair because it is just that, a comic book movie, and it's supposed to be like comic books, and that's how comic books are.
But comic books are like wacky and entertaining, and they don't try to be realistic at any point.
That's wrong. That is incorrect because the new age of comic books, which started a bit before this movie, has gritty Jokers. It has a part where Joker kills Robin. It has a part where he shoots Batgirl and she's permanently paralyzed. Things like that happen in comics.
But it's not entertaining. There's no entertainment value. It's dull. I don't care about the characters because they're superheroes. Like, you're always going to see another incarnation. There's always going to be more stories. They're not people I care about. I don't care. I don't care about Bruce Wayne. It's so boring.
I think Bruce Wayne was interesting, and I know this is the first thing that I've seen where they actually tried to give Bruce Wayne a character and succeeded. I've
It,
heard that the new Telltale games do that.
I also heard that they were terrible, but you know.
Really?
Oh yeah, bad
I
movies.
I haven't heard anything about them.
Telltale's been going down the drain lately, though. Let's be fair.
The dialogue was mediocre.
Bad.
I think that it fit for the type of movie it was going for, more on visual and action scenes and less on character development. But one thing that it did a lot, which I enjoyed, was the bad guy would say something in the beginning, and then one of the protagonists would flip it back on them. And that happened a lot.
That's just like corny one-liners. It's like the textbook definition. Of course, you got to repeat things. That's the juxtaposition of the scenes. It's flipping direction 101, I guess.
It was entertaining to watch.
The only entertaining bits were with Batman. The scenes where Batman first starts are amazing. They were definitely the best parts of the film. And they're the only reason why I didn't want to turn the movie off immediately. I'll turn the movie off an hour in. But they're all right.
The character, I feel like every character was a real person. There was no one where I just felt like they were on screen for the time they were on screen, and then they disappeared.
They felt like cardboard cutouts to me, except Bruce Wayne and like Alfred. And Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson was good.
I'm surprised they didn't do more with Alfred, because a lot of modern things have done stuff with him.
Yeah, I've been seeing. I don't keep track of the stuff, but I know that Alfred has kind of a following.
Yeah, in the comics, he like canonically knows like 5 forms of fighting, and he's really tough. And like people like tried to steal, the Wayne's fortune, and he like fought them off. And I know that in the new television show Gotham, that's demonstrated. Score, I really like the music. There was more than once where I felt that if the music wouldn't have been there, the scene would have just been mediocre, and the music really tied it together.
Yeah, music was fine. I can't complain. I don't like orchestral scores because I can't listen to them outside of a movie. I see no value in that. I don't think they're good enough for that, but I just don't like orchestral music that much. Like I like movies that manage to incorporate actual song, like The Graduate incorporated Simon and Garfunkel, The Sound of Silence, really well. They used it like 4 times, and you'd think that'd be egregious for a movie, but they do it really well. But this movie, it's a functional orchestral score that was made for the movie. It's not bad. I'm not dissing it.
I like orchestral scores. I can listen to them on their own. I don't normally, because I don't normally listen to music on its own. But I really enjoy it. There was never a time where it just felt like generic music. There was one part where the brass section had this big, almost explosion near the beginning, and it sounded phenomenal. It was during a training fight type scene. Oh, and there was one scene that I really liked in the beginning where the guy trading Batman cuts his arm so that he can tell them apart. So then Batman cuts people's arm so that it's hard to tell which one's which, and then he ambushes them by using it. And I don't know, this movie never felt like Batman was just some big thug with money. It felt like he was actually thinking and was intelligent. It mentioned that he went to Princeton University but got kicked out. What did you think about that?
Which one?
Him being intelligent?
Cool. Like, he kind of has to be to fight crime well, you know? It's all superheroes.
Have you ever seen any of the other Batman movies?
The 3 other superhero movies I've seen in my lifetime are Guardians of the Galaxy, Iron Man, and Big Hero 6, but Big Hero 6 kind of isn't. It's just a comic book movie. It's not superhero, I guess. And, yeah.
Yeah, you're not missing out. And I think that's actually why I like this so much, because I went in knowing how bad Batman movies had been, like with Batman and Robin, and the original one that was in like black and white.
Weren't those like so corny though? They didn't even like attempt to be serious.
Yeah,
I've heard. I think I would like those a lot more. I'd probably really enjoy like Batman and Robin and stuff. I know they get really bad reviews, but I love corny stuff. I love corny action. That's why the Batman lines in this movie were so good. It's just like, "Where are you?" "I'm here." It's so dumb. I loved it. I was cracked up when that stuff happened.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. but I never felt like it was an overbearing amount of corny like the old Batman movies had been.
I think it was intentional, like how corny it was, and that was good. They did limit it.
Like there was more than once where in my mind I could see like a red kapow when Batman hit someone, like you'd see in those old comic books.
Yeah, that would have made me really happy if that happened, but I know it wouldn't.
Have you ever seen anything like Scott Pilgrim?
I saw Scott Pilgrim.
It did stuff like that. Did you
Well,
like that?
Scott Pilgrim did a lot of video game stuff, which was intentional, considering it's supposed to be like a geek.
Hmm.
It's supposed to. I want to say pander, but it didn't pander because it's well written and actually good. But I know people say that the comic books are like way above the movie, but the movie's good.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't read the comic books.
I
I
mean,
saw the movie when it came out when I was younger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I don't remember much about it.
It's a good movie.
Have you ever seen I'm not gonna say the title, but Kick Butt?
No,
That's a good movie.
not my thing.
It does well. It's a lot of the corny action kapow stuff.
That's not my style.
There's more than once I think where it actually like shows a still frame that's like a comic page. I enjoyed it. Overall, I'd say this was a pretty good movie. Um, Definitely better than a lot of superhero movies. Not as good as Guardians of the Galaxy, but to me that's comparing apples to oranges.
Guardians of the Galaxy was so good though. Like
Uh,
I can understand not thinking that it doesn't feel like a superhero movie at all. It doesn't even feel like a comic book movie. It's kind of its own thing. Um, but I would not watch this movie again if asked, unless they wanted me to riff on it, in which case I totally would. Uh, not a fan. But I've never been a fan, so.
I'd watch this movie again maybe in a month or so, but I couldn't put this on the next day and enjoy it.
Yeah, that's a lot of movies though. Even good movies, like really good movies, you can't do that.
Yeah, I guess my waiting time on this is about three to 4 months, and then I could watch it again. Overall, I give it 6.7, maybe 7 rounded.
I give mine like a 4.9 out of 10, which you can just round up to a 5. It's just a low 5.
Yeah. Overall, I enjoyed the movie. I'm glad I watched it, and if you're a fan of gritty movies, of action movies with plot, or of Batman, you should watch it.
Sure, go for it.
And what would you say that they should not watch it if they like?
If you like stories that are subtle, don't watch this. This is not subtle. Um, it's not. It's almost too quiet. It almost wants you to ascribe meaning to it. I don't know. It's dull.
All right. Thanks for listening. This is Zoom Review signing out.